Hello everybody and Happy New Year from the Fandom Show. We've got some huge plans for 2019, lots of awesome stuff going on. I'm going to talk a little more about that at the end of this episode, but before we get into the new stuff, we got to finish up what we started at the end of last year. So today is going to be part 3 of our 3-part Batman series. When we left off, we were talking about the infamous Batman and Robin, which has of course earned a reputation as one of the worst movies of all time. Not just superhero movies, but movies. And the movie that killed the Batman franchise on the big screen for 8 years. So what happened in between? Well, believe it or not, despite the failure of Batman and Robin, there were almost immediate plans for a 5th Batman movie. It was supposed to be called Batman Triumphant, and believe it or not, Joel Schumacher was going to direct again. Whose idea was this? I don't know, but I want to slap them. Anyway, Warner Brothers eventually decided that, well, maybe Schumacher's not the best fit for this, so they dismissed him. And they kind of let Batman rest for a few years. But Batman being Batman, he's always popular. And they knew that there was money to be made there, so they didn't give up on it. In the intervening years, they'd entertained a few ideas here and there, but nothing got off the ground. Then, in the year 2000, a young filmmaker by the name of Christopher Nolan released a movie called Memento.
If you haven't seen this movie, you should consider checking it out. It's actually pretty good.
It has nothing to do with superheroes or Batman, but it showed what he was capable of and went on to be critically acclaimed and a financial success. On the heels of that, Warner Brothers decided to hire Nolan to bring Batman back to the big screen.
But no crazy bat suits with nipples this time, and thank God for that.
Nolan discarded everything that had been done before and wanted to take Batman to the beginning. He wanted to do the origin story. He also wanted to take Batman to his darker roots while not making it too violent to where families wouldn't be able to enjoy it.
But at least he didn't try to make it too family friendly.
Nolan set out to make a movie that was dark and gritty in line with the traditional Batman comics, while at the same time not being inaccessible. The idea was that anybody 10 or older could see this movie and enjoy it without having any concerns about content. Batman Begins went on to make $375 million, which is actually a fair bit less than the 1989 movie when adjusted for inflation. However, it was so well received that just about anyone who follows pop culture had the same opinion after it was released. Batman is back.
That's right. No silliness, no Arnold Schwarzenegger, just 100% pure Batman goodness.
Of course, with any successful Batman movie, you gotta have a sequel. And in the case of Batman Begins, Warner Brothers actually commissioned 2. The first sequel, The Dark Knight, was released in 2008. It had been teased at the end of the original film when Commissioner Gordon hands Batman a Joker card. The Joker, being one of the most popular supervillains of all time, seemed like it was going to be a huge hit in this next movie. It was a bit surprising when Heath Ledger became cast as the Joker, but as soon as the photos came out of him in character, people were blown away. Fun fact, Heath Ledger was actually a candidate for the role of Bruce Wayne / Batman in Batman Begins. What would that have been like?
I just want to go on record as saying I really think this could have worked.
The Dark Knight was followed up by The Dark Knight Rises in 2012. While not quite as well received critically as The Dark Knight, The Dark Knight Rises nevertheless went in to pull in $1 billion of its own at the box office, making Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy perhaps the 3 greatest superhero movies ever made.
Seriously, they're really awesome.
Following The Dark Knight Rises, Batman went back into cinematic exile, although not for 8 years this time. He reappeared in 2016's Batman vs. Superman, this time played by Ben Affleck.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I'm still really not sold on this concept.
Like Michael Keaton several decades before, the casting of Affleck was and remains somewhat controversial among Batman fans, and it remains to be seen how ultimately this interpretation will be viewed historically.
So far, it's not looking that good.
Affleck will be starring as the Caped Crusader in a standalone film that is currently in pre-production. It remains to be seen how this new Batman movie will measure up against the legendary Nolan series. So that pretty much takes us to the end of Batman in film, but I did want to mention my 3 favorite Batman comic books. Of course, there is a ton of Batman comic books, but in my opinion, some of the 3 best are The Long Halloween, which is one of the ones where Chris Nolan used to derive the story for Batman Begins, Batman Year One, another excellent series by legendary comic book writer and artist Frank Miller, which also served as an inspiration for Batman Begins, and The Killing Joke. The Killing Joke might be my personal favorite, as it delves into the origins of the Joker. Of course, there aren't really any origins to the Joker because his origin varies, but The Killing Joke is an excellent take on one of my favorite all-time comic book characters.
Actually, come to think of it, this is one of my favorite comics of all time, period.
Alright, so that concludes our first series of episodes on Batman, but we're not done with The Dark Knight yet. We're going to be doing another episode on Batman video games and another episode dedicated to Batman the Animated Series, and that one's going to be worth watching. For the rest of our plans in 2019, we have episodes planned on Ghostbusters, Jurassic Park, several on Star Trek. I'm going to be hitting the X-Files. I'm hoping to knock out a Lord of the Rings episode. We have more episodes coming in our Villain of the Month series. Joker, of course, is going to be first up for that. And then we're going to have a couple of special episodes where I'll have reviews of some movies that are coming out and a few other cool things I have in the pipeline. So stay tuned. It's going to be an awesome year here at the Fandom Show. As always, thanks for watching.